very much fun. Joining us now. Are they joining us, Josh?
Yep.
They're joining us. What
Hello.
was that? Oh, I just heard
Hi
something.
there.
Was that a dog?
That
or
was
something?
Penny.
I heard
That was my dog, yes.
That was Penny.
Yeah, she's
Penny
outside.
Pecos. She was out making hound noises. We have Cuddly John and Cuddly Bridget here. John, Hussey, Hussey?
Yes, Hussey. Yes, sir.
Oh, good. And Bridget Bowhay, which it says names are pronounced phonetically. So I did okay, I think. Now, we generally do not have .coms on this program because we are a .com and we get to be the only one. Now, you do a donation thing. And I'm not trying to be negative, but it looks a little bit like you're a retailer that uses the donation side of your business creatively to sell things, and it provides a use. I'm not being negative, but I want to make sure that people understand that you're not a nonprofit all by yourself, but that you support nonprofit rescues and individuals and organizations, but you yourselves are like in the pet supply business. Is that fair?
Well, that's fair. First of all, thanks for having Bridget and I on. We appreciate the time and the opportunity to explain Cuddly, actually. Not necessarily those are the optics that we like to say about our business. We provide a suite of business tools to help nonprofits, so I think that part is right. If you think about rescues and shelters, their number one challenge is fundraising. They rely on over 80% of the operating costs come from outside donations. They don't wake up every morning to say, I want to be great fundraisers. They wake up every morning to say to themselves, how many animals can we save today? And that's where Cuddly steps in.
Great. And I looked at that and I see that, but as you well know, there are a number of for-profits that then have a nonprofit front on them, very well known in the industry, that I'm always a little skeptical because like a couple of them are like venture-backed. And I come from Silicon Valley, and yeah, venture is important and meaningful, but I don't think of venture-backed companies being the same as nonprofits. And you do some cool ways for people to easily donate specific items or money to 501c3 nonprofits, and you handle all of the work that does that. You get the product, you ship it, you do all of that, and it goes to the nonprofit. So if I want to donate from the wish list of a nonprofit, you're a way for me to do that.
We are, and what's really important and why Cuddly really plays an integral role with these organizations, and especially with the pandemic, most of them rely on fosters. So if we can provide not only the monetary donations that we do for the vet care and such for these animals that require rehabilitation, but we can also provide products and supplies, topical ointments, beds, leashes, for those fosters to who generously give of themselves and their time and probably go into their own pocket in some cases. Now, our donor community steps up and helps those folks who are caring for these animals. Typically, what we see on Cuddly, the type of campaigns that we see are abused and neglected animals that require a tremendous amount of resources. So where we step in and we provide that bridge for donors to give, and they are able to give on an animal-specific level in a very transactional way sometimes, right? So if I give a blanket, I feel like I'm helping Fluffy in her recovery and her journey. And it's interesting how generous and how giving people are, as you know, to animals, and how they want updates, and they even want to go sometimes as far as to adopt Fluffy in certain cases.
Oh, I have done this a number of times. On Facebook, for example, I have a couple of lost pet groups, and we've raised thousands of dollars on Facebook that was paid to vets to take care of injured, sick animals that were found out in the community. I raised on my page one 24-hour period $1,500 for a poor mange-infested Dutch Shepherd whose name is Ellen, who of course recovered, has done beautifully, and we have a number of these organizations here with us. And again, there are a million ways to donate to animals in need. Cuddly is one of them, and if they're what your local group uses, God bless you. There needs to be more ways for people to do this.
Bridget, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, absolutely. We totally agree with what you're saying. We work with rescues around the world, so it's almost 2,000 animal rescues that we work with. So chances are there is a rescue near you that is working with us. And you can really have a chance to get involved in a pet story in such an amazing, real way. I mean, for instance, there was a dog named Houdini who came into the care of Barktown Rescue, and he was totally, he was a senior dog. He couldn't walk. He was dragging his own legs. And because of the generous donations that came in, he now has a wheelchair. He's the most adorable, spunky guy. And he's able to live out his remaining years just so happy in the care of this rescue. And that's all because of the donors.
Oh, absolutely. Lots of stories like that. And if the organizations that have these animals partner with Cuddly, it's a great way for them to raise money, get resources without having to do a lot of the work themselves. Because as you point out, animal rescuers are here for the animals. They're not here for the fundraising. The really good groups bring in some, fundraising volunteers and business volunteers. And that's why, some of these rescues are head and shoulders above the others, but that's not a knock against the ones who don't do that. Small shelters, small rescues, they have a hard time doing what they're doing. And if they can get your help raising money, getting resources, and not having to worry about it, particularly not having to worry, and the donors don't have to worry about fraud because you're sitting there in the middle. I always used to have to print dog care estimates or cat care estimates up on the website. I said, here's what the vet says is necessary. Here's what it costs. That's exactly the amount of money we're going to try to raise. And by the way, if you try to give more, they're going to stop you. So you want to be able to be absolutely sincere and convincing, and Cuddly allows groups to do that.
David, you're a great spokesperson for our business. That's exactly right. And so as a donor, I want to know that my donation is going to a verified rescue or shelter, a viable organization. So Cuddly, we go on GuideStar, we verify them, we vet them, if you will. We make sure their tax ID there's a filing, it's applicable. We do all that work. And at the end of the year, what we do is provide a donor a listing of all their donations and products that they've provided to those organizations across the world in one easy-to-use format so that they can print it off and give it to their tax accountant. So you're right, and we don't do business or we don't raise money for individuals. We are the first dedicated crowdfunding platform for animal welfare organizations.
And there is another one that I didn't like very much because, again, they were not as clear with what they're doing. Now, but you make your money off of margin on product. Is that fair? Is that how I should describe it?
Yeah, there's a business model that works. That's one portion of that business model. We also do not charge the rescues and shelters any fees at all to use our platform. What we provide for them is a fundraising consultant, and as you mentioned, some of them don't have these additional staff members to do that. That's where we step in. We plug them into a marketing engine that we pay for to help promote their campaigns across the world. A lot of these organizations, they will raise money in their local neighborhoods or local communities, and there's an aspect of that called donor fatigue, where they keep asking the same people to donate over and over again. What Cuddly provides them is an outreach opportunity to grow their donor base. So if you come in from Florida, for example, and the rescue is located in Southern California, if you make a donation to that rescue, you remain in their micro-community. So it gives you a new donor. So we've seen organizations across the world pick up new donors and refresh that list because they're able to tap into Cuddly's marketing engine. So there's a lot of resources, and the donors have been leaving behind a nice tip to help fund that, to take the pressure off of the organizations.
So just like Move On and some of these other organizations will allow you to round up or add a little bit of money to it to pay for the infrastructure, you do that as well, but it's not required, and it's kind of part of the wish list fulfillment part of your group.
Yeah, it's completely optional. Yes, sir. Completely optional, but our donors have really taken to it. And it allows us to hire people, additional people, fund the platform. As with your background, you understand from tech that you continually have to upgrade the platform. We learn new things on how to optimize for our rescues and shelters, and so that funding comes from that. And, again, we step in as an outside resource that becomes a real integral part of these organizations' fundraising arm.
just running a WordPress site for this radio program takes me many, many hours and investment and add-ons and features and this and that. Yeah, I absolutely know what it is to try to build up a platform and then try to get some audience and tell people what you're about and all of that. Yeah, it's tough, and it does really cost money.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. I have a question. How long have you been in business?
Yes, ma'am. So we started the company in 2014, March 2014. We went to market as the GoFundMe for animal rescue. And then in early 2018, we added products to our mix. And so we've been in business for over 5 years now. Almost six, close to 6 years.
That's wonderful. I mean, it's a very neat idea. I mean, you're almost like a United Way in a sense. You know, you're kind of gathering all this information together. What would you say was your best success so far?
Bridget, you want to tackle that?
I mean, that's a really big question. But, I mean, and I think it's going to depend, depending on different animal rescues. For us, I mean, every pet that comes and is able to have their life turned around is amazing. I know, in particular, we have really an intimate connection with one rescue called Dallas Dog Rescue Rehab Reform, and they had a dog come in just in the worst, like, emaciated. I mean, this was a puppy. It was a brand new puppy that was turned into a shelter, and the vet said, hey, this dog isn't going to survive. And but this rescue doesn't take no for an answer, and did everything they could and was able to turn this dog's life around in such an amazing way. And so we've been lucky enough to actually, like, meet the dog in person, and it's like the happiest dog now, living in like a giant grassy field with in a wonderful part of Texas. So that's just one of just so many stories that we've been a part of, and we've been lucky enough to help turn around.
Do you offer suggestions on what's the best way to raise funds to, like, organizations, or is there a set format?
Yeah, we work super intimately with all of our animal rescues, and so it's on a case-by-case basis. I mean, we're talking with them every single day to find out updates, to get new photos, so that all of our donors are staying informed and so they can follow along with this journey. I mean, personally, there's one dog on our site right now named Stanley, who is a disabled Chihuahua who I have fallen in love with, and he's like learning to walk again, and every step he takes, we've got new photos, and so that's something, like, personally I'm cheering on. So there's certainly a dog champion for all of us on the site.
Yeah, Laura, we have a team of fundraising consultants, and they actually, in some cases, and I've seen this before, where the rescue has picked up the animal at the shelter and rushing to the vet, and they're calling the fundraising consultant saying, I need to raise some money to pay for this vet expense. Can you create a campaign for us? And then they're taking pictures along the way, and hopefully they're not driving and taking pictures, but they're taking pictures and setting up a campaign. And so it's like Bridget said, it's that intimate. But what we found, and I didn't necessarily want the business to go this route originally, is to have that type of hand-holding and customer touch or touch points. But now I've realized that it's an amazing part of what we do, as we've become an extension in these organizations to help. We are the voice of the small and medium-sized rescues and shelters. Like David mentioned, the larger ones know how to do this, but the small and medium-sized ones, this is a challenge for them.
Oh, definitely. I know David has one in his neighborhood. I think it's a police department that has a couple kennels. David, you know more than I.
Yeah, the nice people down in Huron, they're not even a shelter because it's a police department that has 8 kennels out back, and they cannot adopt out dogs. They can return to owners or they can give to rescues, but because they're not a real shelter, if it doesn't go to a rescue or the owner, they have to put the dog down, and they're very successful finding rescues for their dogs, but they have all of 8 kennels in this farming community down in Fresno County. I've been trying to help them out where I can, and I tell people their story. Now, John, do you build rescue-specific pages? If I were working with you, I would want you to do for me just my dogs. I don't want to send them to cuddly.com. I want them to come to davidsanimalrescue.org and see David's dogs that Cuddly is then managing all of this for. Do you do that?
So we do. We are adapting as we go along. One of the tools that we just recently developed was a campaign widget that can be housed on the rescue site, and that the user or visitor doesn't leave, and the transaction can occur on CUDDLY on the back end, but it stays as framed up as you're on the actual rescue site. We also just recently launched a specific partner utility app, because a lot of them today use mobile like all of us, and so we created this app in order for them to be able to create campaigns very easily because they're out in the field or doing whatever. So as you alluded to earlier, those are the investments that we continue to make. As the CEO of the company, I continually drive our team we need to stay current. We need to have the best technology available to these organizations, and these organizations can't afford to build this technology on their own.
No, they can't. I would want rescuename.cuddly.com. I'm just concerned about competing with myself. If I want to show people the 2 dogs that are in my rescue, I would like a real easy way to say, here are the 2 dogs so that CUDDLY, if people come to cuddly.com, you become sort of the container. And I would like for the rescue to stay the container, and then for CUDDLY to be the services provider and the host, perhaps.
Well,
and again, we're talking business and technology, and I apologize for running in that direction. But I'm just thinking of what would I want if I were going to use this platform?
Well, that's the beauty of it. So we are partners, and as Bridget mentioned, Barktown Rescue, for example. So we have an email engine, a back-end email engine, social sharing. So once the campaign's created on CUDDLY, it's shared on behalf of Barktown Rescue via CUDDLY.
Right.
So we co-brand it. There's a section on the campaign page that specifically and clearly denotes what rescue this animal's being cared for. That rescue, we vetted that organization. So it's a co-branded environment, and it's working very nicely. I mean, if you think about what we've been able to do, we've raised over $10 million since we started for rescues and shelters. And I think, David, we're just getting started. We are making such an impact in these organizations and these animals' lives. It's amazing. And when I sit here and see the stories that come over from rescues, thank you, you saved us. I went in debt personally, and I ran up my credit cards to save this animal, and I was able to pay them off. You can't. You have to be you're not human if it doesn't pull on your heartstrings.
Did you come out of rescue, or did you come out of business? Where did this idea come from? You sound like you came out of business and have discovered rescue along the way.
You nailed it. I did not scoop poop, as they say in the kennels. I came out of business. I was the early angel investor, to be honest with you, and put the early money in, and I ended up becoming the CEO. And my great story is that our rescue dog Benji now sleeps on our bed, because I've been fortunate enough to lead this company, and I have actually become a better human being by the experience of being around rescue.
I could tell when you're saying, I didn't really intend for the business to go this way, but, and then your voice warms up and you're talking about rescue. I could tell you were a business guy. And, God bless you. I mean, we don't normally think of angel investors in support for nonprofits, but we do have them, and they're the same people who provide the matching donations that we have for the cancer program at the Morris Animals Foundation right now. Send them money, folks. And this is great. John, thank you. I apologize for being a little bit skeptical. I hope you understand that I have been through all kinds of reasons to be skeptical of animal things. So I get what you're doing now, and I think it's great.
David, thank you. Laura, thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate your all being. Yeah, we'll have you back. I'll try to figure out some way I can promote. I don't know what we would then post the podcast and everything, and I'll edit it down just a little bit. But we'll have you back on and a little more podcast, talking about who you are and what you are and how the stories are. And we'll do all the heartwarming stories at once and give you a podcast that you can link to. So we'll do that. Laura will get back with you about getting you back on the calendar.
We enjoyed it. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate you both. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. CUDDLY does not have an I in it. I want to spell CUDDLY, CUDDLY, CUDDLY. No, it's CUDDLY.com. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. It's KSCO Pet Radio. We have a